So we're going to continue with this question paper with question 11. X divided by 3 equals 8. So to get x on its own, I'm going to multiply both sides by 3. So x becomes on its own, and 8 times 3 is 24. Here I've got 5x minus 8 equals 7. So I'm going to get rid of the minus 8 first. The opposite of minus 8 is a plus 8, so add 8 to both sides. That leaves me with 5x on this side, and 7 add 8 is 15. I then want to get rid of the 5, which is multiplying by the x, so I'm going to divide both sides by 5. 5x divided by 5 is x on its own, and 15 divided by 5 is 3. So I've got my answer, x equals 3. So Gemma has her kitchen floor tiled. The pattern is made up of 80 cream tiles and 24 green tiles. Write this as a ratio in its simplest form. So my ratio is 80 to 24, and we want to simplify this ratio. So we're looking for the largest number that both 80 and 24 can divide by, and they can both divide by 8. 80 divided by 8 is 10. And 24 divided by 8 is 3. So my ratio is 10 to 3. Gemma then has her hallway tiled with cream tiles. So we're going to add some more cream tiles, but the number of green tiles is going to stay at 24. For the kitchen and the hallway, the ratio of cream tiles to green tiles is 19 to 3. How many cream tiles were used altogether for the kitchen and the hallway? Okay, so we know our ratio is 19 to 3, but we also know that our green tiles is 24. So we need to do something to this side to turn it into 24. And opposite of before, we're actually going to multiply it by 8. So we're going to do the same thing on this side of my ratio. I'm going to times 19 by 8. So over here, I'm going to split 19 into 10 and 9 and do the grid method. 10 times 8 is 80. And 9 times 8 is 72, so 80 add 72 is 152. So my answer is 152 cream tiles and 24 green tiles. Gemma was quoted 820 to have her kitchen tiled. Tiling the hallway increases this by 70%. Okay, so to find 70%, I'm going to do 820. The first thing I'm going to do is divide it by 10, which gives me 82, and this is 10%. I'm then going to take my 82 and times it by 7. And again, I'm just going to do this over the side over here. So I'm going to split my 82 into 80 and 2. 8 times 7 is 56 with a 0, and 2 times 7 is 14. Add those two together and I get 574. So our final answer is £574. So the grouped frequency table shows information about the percentage of plastic packaging that each of the 235 members of the eco group recycled in 2018. So 12 people recycled between 30 and 40% of their waste, 65 between 40 and 50, 74 people were between 50 and 60%, 55 people recycled between 60 and 70%, and 29 people recycled between 70 and 80%. On the paper below, draw a group frequency diagram to show this data. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is between 30 and 40, so it's the width of this. We are at a height of 12, so 10's there, 11, 12. So this is my section. So between 30 and 40, we're at a height of 12. Between 40 and 50, we're at a height of 65, so 60's here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is my 65. Again, you'll have to excuse, I am trying to do this as best I can on a graphics tablet. Between 50 and 60% was 74. 74 people, so I'm going to go to a height of 74. Between 60 and 70 was 55, so if I find 50 and go up 5, and then between 70 and 80 we had 29, so 29 is just there. So that is my crude group frequency diagram. Hopefully you guys can understand what's happening here, and you can produce better diagrams with a pencil and a ruler. We then have the following year, 2019, the eco group had more members. The recycling percentage of the plastic packaging that each recycled in this year is in this diagram. So what is the probability that a member of the eco group recycled at least 70% of their packaging? Okay, so 70% of their packaging, so it's this, which is 60. So there were 60 people. 60 people produced 60 people produced packaging. Right, so we also need to know how many members there were. So between 30 and 40 there were 6 members. 40 and 50 there was 40. Between 50 and 60 we had 60. Between 60 and 70 we are on 75. That's 5. And between 70 and 80 we had 60. So we're going to add up our 5, 40, 60, 75 and 60, and we have out of 240 members. So the probability that the person selected is 60 out of 240. Anytime we're working out probability, what we want to find one of these 60 people out of how many people are there in total, and there are 240 people in total. Use the information provided to write a statement comparing the percentage of plastic recycled in these 2 years. Okay, so we can see a larger proportion here. We only have 30, we are 29 people in the 70 to 80, and here we have 60 people in the 70 to 80 category. So I would say a larger proportion of people recycle over 70%. Question 14. We have a diagram, it's not being drawn to scale, so we can't use our protractor to measure the angles, and we want to show that AB and CD are not parallel. Okay, so they're not parallel. So the first thing I'm going to say is if this angle here is 94 degrees, this angle will also be 94 degrees because opposite angles. So these two are opposite angles, and opposite angles are equal. Right? The next thing I'm going to say is if these two were parallel, this angle and this angle would be corresponding. And corresponding angles are equal. So just like opposite angles are equal, this angle must be the same as that angle, they're both 94. Corresponding angles are equal, so this angle here must be the same as this angle there, but it is not. 94 is not 104, therefore the lines are not parallel. We've now been given another set. This time these are indicated as parallel lines. How can we see this? Because of this indent, these arrows indicating so. And we want to find angle X. Okay, So I'm going to start here, finding this angle here, because I know angles on a straight line add to 180. So 180 minus 146, can't take that. So 10 take away 6 is 4, 7 take away 4 is 3, and 1 take away 1 is nothing. So I know this angle is 34 degrees. I also know that this angle x, and because this is parallel this time, and that angle x are the same. So this angle must be x, and this is because alternate angles are equal. So alternate angles are equal. So now we have 34, 112, and x as our three angles inside a triangle. Angles in a triangle add up to 180. So if I add up the two angles I know, 2 add 4 is 6, 1 add 3 is 4, and bring the 1 down, I get 146. And 180 minus the 146, 10 take away 4, 6 is 4, 7 is 34. So x equals 34, which is interesting because that was also 34. Write down the mathematical name for the triangle PQR. Give a reason for your answer. Okay, so this is an isosceles triangle, and the reason I know this is it has two equal angles. If all three angles are the same, it would be equilateral. If two angles are the same, it's an isosceles, and if no angles are the same, we would call it scalene. Town Council has 12 wildflower beds. Mira and John count the number of rattle plants in each different 1 square metre section of the flower beds. The results are shown on the scattergram. Okay. One of the beds both Mira and Joe count many more yellow rattle plants than in the other bed. Calculate the difference between Joe's plant count and Mira's plant count for this bed. Okay, so the one outlier, this one up here, Joe's count has it up there, just under the 250, and Mia's count is down here. And between our 200 and our 250. Now I need to be careful here and think about the scale, because we're not going up by 1. 200, 1, 2, 3, 4 does not get us to 250. So we need to know there are 10 gaps in there, and it goes up by 50. 50 divided by 10 is 5. So each of these smaller squares are equal to 5. So this one is 245. And again, between 200 and 250, each one goes up by 5. So it's 200 and 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. So the difference in these is 245, subtract my 230, there's a difference of 15. Okay, so we either, Mia's count 60 and Joe's count 70. Mia says we should use 70 to estimate the number of rattle plants in the bed because it is higher. Joe says it's better if we add our two answers together. Use the total number of plants in 2 meters squared to estimate the number. So Joe is correct because a larger sample size is always better. The wildflower bed has an area of 40 meters squared. Use Joe's method to calculate the estimate of the number of yellow rattle plants in this bed. Okay, so we had 60 plus 70, which is 130. Right, that is for 2 meters. So if we half that, we would get 65 in 1 meter squared. We have 40 meters squared, so we're going to do 65 times 40. So I'm going to split up my 65 into 60 and 5, and I'm going to multiply that by 40. 6 times 4 is 24, times 10 times 10, and 5 times 4 is 20 times 10. So my final answer is 2,600, which again feels like another good place to stop.